what can eat. Like a lot of energy for us is like, well, first of all, if we are in constant resistance to life, to what is, and we cannot accept our current circumstance, our current situation, and we like desperately try to avoid it and push ourselves to get away from it. And now I don't want people to misinterpret what I'm saying. It's like I don't want people to perceive this that I'm asking them to like not do anything about their situations. It's just when you accept for what it is, then like there is less pressure, and then there is different energy. Like it frees up more space for you, yeah, more potential. You are less limited in your actions, your thinking, yeah, and like you're more free. Like you can act more freely. Yeah, you understand. Okay, that and that situation. I mean, it's not ideal. It's not my desired preference, but I accept it for what it is now, and I intend to create an inspiring future that would like be a different version from where I am right now. But it's not like I'm living in a constant resistance that fuck, it's like this is shit show, and it's so fucked up. I mean, when you focus how fucked up it is, like your current reality or your surroundings, then like can you feel it? Like the energy is like very very low vibe, and it drags you down, and from that type of space it's very difficult for us to be able to function properly and take the right necessary action steps that we need to do. Instead, we function from the place of anxiety, or from the like this desperate urge and fear to escape our painful past and not wanting to repeat it. So we live in this constant psychological time, the suffering from the painful past and the fearful future, which is always like uncertainty. And if we have this constant pressure, then we cannot relax, and we are constantly living in this stressful state of being. We're stressed, we are under pressure, and then we create, usually from fear, which invites not the most optimal type of behavior choices, and also results. And it's very draining. And for most people, it's like the default setting. I'm also talking about myself when I look retrospectively, how like that has been like also my like default state for a long time. And sometimes when I like wake up and I have a day off, I still feel like fucking freaking tired. It's like why? Like I don't have to like do anything today, but I still feel tired. And often, what this fatigue is actually showing us that we are tired in general, tired from life, because we are in resistance to it. We're not surrendering to it. We are not allowing the flow, and we feel like we are not safe the way it is. And so we need to constantly try to control as much as possible our external surroundings. And that is like immense pressure, and it takes a lot of energy, and it's all the time like trying to like control this and to feel at ease. But the paradox is, when we do this constantly, we're never at ease. We are never at ease. And so we need to work with acceptance. And one of the things why we are not at ease to what is we have our own self-image or self-perception based in the limiting belief that we're not safe, or we're not adequate. And so we need to constantly like try to improve our positions, which is basically a baseline for our ego, which will always like feel that it needs to reinforce itself, its own image, because it feels like it always needs this validation and add up, so it would calm down a little bit. But even after we have added up some of the perceived validation for the ego, after a brief moment of time, it will return again with its innate insecurity, and will hey, but yeah, I need to do that, or I'm not good enough in that way, so we need to keep doing XYZ, which is like never ending struggle. It's like continuous exhausting process, reinforcing. Or another way you could say, it's like this feedback loop, or in other words, like this vicious cycle that we create, and we recreate this proof that, hey, this is actually true, when in reality we look for the proof only because of our limited self-perception of self. If it was not there, we would never look for that kind of proof. And so we need to work on the identity level, or dissolving or our false self of selves, that we are not enough. And when we constantly keep fighting against the flow of life, against all that there is, I mean, no matter how much effort we are going to put into that, we're never going to win. It's gonna be more and more exhausting for ourselves, and resistance is gonna build up to the point when we will experience a huge disruptive life event. that will mirror to us that, hey, you need to renew your relationship to yourself and life. And these type of disruptive events usually come in form of, it could be some tragic life events, also including disease, which is here to, hey, pay attention. And so we need to start to investigate this self-limiting belief that we are not enough, or we are not that might be fill in the blank, or we are not adequate. And as a consequence of that, then we feel shame or guilt, and then we want to compensate that by doing XYZ, chasing certain things, and thinking that when I required this external thing, achievement, then I'm finally going to feel good enough about myself, which is not the case if we haven't changed from within, which is the level of our self-perception, our identity level. And sure, as kids, we did our best that we could, and we made assumptions about ourselves when experiencing certain traumatic experiences that led us to adopt negative limiting beliefs about ourselves and negative self-image. But right now, as adults, we've have the, you could say, the gap of time, and we have become more matured, more experienced, more wise, so we can start really review these negative beliefs about ourselves, to really check them, is it ultimately true what I think about myself? Is this universally 100% true? And or are there also counter evidence to that? And also, from an adult perspective, we can have a different view on what actually happened to us as kids. We can see it now a little bit more detached, but of course it's always a great idea to invest in somebody who can hold space for you, who is really good about working with our mind, a person, whether it's a coach, a guide, a mentor, who can help us see our fallacies, how we see ourselves. And so that's very good investment, because as we have discovered, it's easier to see from the outside what the other people are not seeing for themselves, their own blind spot. And that applies also to us, because on some level there might be some emotional attachment to certain viewpoint that we are struggling to let go. And so it can be very beneficial if other person intervenes and helps us to break that vicious cycle. by holding space and for us and guiding us. So that's a very good one. And for those of you who may say, yeah, but I'm not aware of my limiting beliefs, well, start with the surface level, which is pay attention to your triggers. What is triggering you right now? Or when was the last time you noticed that you got triggered? What was the situation? Why you got triggered? And then just examine from there, what was your inner narrative about yourself? What got you triggered? How does that made you feel and view yourself, perceive yourself? And then you can ask even another question. Let's layer deeper. So, and what does that mean about myself? And you can repeat this question until you feel like you reached the end. And that is usually your limiting belief. But there are usually for most people, there are some common limiting beliefs, such as I'm not good enough, or I'm not lovable, I don't deserve love. If I don't deserve love, what does that mean? It means that I deserve to suffer. Another one is I'm inadequate, I'm unworthy, which are, all of these are pretty similar, but these are some of the core beliefs that humanity is suffering and that needs to be transcended. When we often trace layer by layer our surface triggers, we often come to one of these limiting beliefs, and then we can start to reevaluate them. Okay, try to remember, okay, when was the last time when I felt this, or that I can remember, or when was the earliest time that I can remember when I felt like this? What did happen? Did somebody tell anything to me or did anything to me? And what did I feel and think about myself at that moment? And there you go. And when you discover these moments when you felt, for example, not good enough or inadequate, then from a current viewpoint, which is updated version, upgraded, wiser version of ourselves, we can see a more bigger picture. We can see it from a different perspective, and to ultimately realize that it's not true. It's not true that we are not good enough. And this can take time, and this can take repeated effort to do this again and again and again and again, because one core belief might be in deeply seated for a long time, and it can take for us some time and effort and repetitions, so we can peel this illusion off layer by layer by layer until this core belief gets weakened, and we no longer view ourselves so firmly as we used to, and it's kind of disillusion. not disillusion, but dissolving. That's the word. And when we revisit these wounded parts of us, these memories, when we reevaluate these old limiting beliefs, and whether we were small children when this happened, if we can hold this part of us with compassion, acceptance, and presence, and non-judgment, then it is very healing for this part of us that has felt previously abandoned and rejected and pushed away and not acknowledged and heard and seen. And every time this part of us gets like triggered, and we hold space for them, and we don't push away just because it might feel uncomfortable and not like normal for us. Every time we do that, we heal ourselves more and more, layer by layer, step by step, and we start to develop more and more compassion towards ourselves, and we also start to feel more trust towards ourselves that actually there is nothing wrong with us. There isn't. And we are integrating this part of us that was fragmented away from our consciousness. And this type of work definitely requires patience. I can tell you from my own experience, because I've been doing this for, years, and there are still some themes that reoccur, that are same themes, but it's okay, because we clear layer by layer, and when we are ready, when our psyche is ready, we can go a little bit deeper, and we can uproot those deeper levels of roots, take them out. It's okay, but for many people, they feel frustrated because often they think, I've worked with this issue extensively, and I thought that I was over it, and like a year later or a couple years later, this again resurfaced, and and then they think or feel that they are stuck, or that they haven't have any progress towards it. But that's not the case. It's just you are ready to release a little bit more. And when you release more of that pain, and it's just you solidify your new identity, which is transcending your old identity of being victim, and then it's like your new identity is like living from empowerment. And empowerment means also I am comfortable with holding my parts and aspects that may not be fully healed and need my attention. That is the path of wholeness and the path of integration. And instead of treating this like old wounded part of you as uninvited guest, it's like, fuck, again, that thing showed up. It's like, come on, again. Instead of like having that type of attitude, which would again be self-rejection and judgment, be like, oh wow, you showed up again. It's like, I'm glad you're here, because that means that you are opening up to the healing, and you are ready to release some, and I am ready to release. And it is an indication that I'm ready for some deeper healing. And I'm excited because the more I hold this wounded part of me, the more healed I become. That might happen multiple days in a row, perhaps weeks, some intense moments. It's like, okay, I can manage that. You can manage that. We have just been so conditioned, so heavily conditioned to like run away from this uncomfortable parts of us and feelings of us, that whenever something shows up, our like initial reaction is usually to wanting to like run away from that and reject that. But that type of behavior will only prolong this unhealed state. And if we want to like move on, then we have to start practicing and retraining us to like be comfortable with ourselves, any aspect of ourselves, whether it's anger, it's fear, sadness, grief, resentment, envy, jealousy, like everything. Sit with them, like get to know them, like what do they want to tell me, what do they need right now in this moment. And the more we do it, the like more we're gonna be good with that. It's inner work, it's inner child work, it's shadow work, that's how it is, that's how we become complete. It's not quick fix, because it's gonna be with us most likely for the rest of our lives. So if that's the case, then I mean, wouldn't it be reasonable to like accept what is? I'll give you an example. For the last couple of days, I've experienced some anxiety, I would say, some frustration regards me not producing more videos than I wanted, because there is part of me that really like is very focused heavily on that. And of course I started to like investigate, okay, what's beneath these feelings, and I can like quickly, like immediately tell that there is a feeling of inadequacy. So there is this pressure, and kind of the making videos is seen as external refuge to escape this feeling of inner inadequacy. And the self-perception is, if I'm gonna make more videos, that will make me feel better, because I'm like adding more value, I'm building up my channel, setting foundations for like future practice, and then I cannot like blame myself, yeah, for not doing things enough. And that should alleviate the pressure. But the pressure will remain, because the next day will become, and the same feeling will be inside me. It's like, okay, next day, okay, you have to do the next one, because if you don't, you're not good enough, because you're not adding value, because you're not building your future practice, your business. So it's a never-ending race. And the only way how to like free myself from that is to like sit with this limiting belief or perception of I'm not good enough or I'm not adequate if I don't produce like daily videos and add value to other people. In this case, seemingly adding value is only related to like making content that helps others. No other ways, which is like very narrow way how to perceive self. It's like, come on now. And out of my own experience, like feeling also tired and at the same time this pressure and stress and anxiety and unease that I'm not performing, thus I'm not good enough. In this way was born this video. So it's as a good like reflection point. So for example, if you have been sitting for hours or maybe a couple of days without like being creative, and that triggers in you reaction of not feeling like good enough, then that's the indicator, then that's the thing to sit with, this self-image of not feeling good enough, because that is what is truly hindering our creativity and building this ongoing pressure for us. And if there is a pressure, then we seek a compensation mechanisms, and sometimes like producing stuff and being productive can also be a compensation mechanism, which is not the best place to be creative from. So when we sit with that and allow that to calm down, then our energy changes, and then we can then we free up the energy resources, we make more space, and from that place we can produce better results. We become more creative. That's exactly what happened for me and with this video. When I sat with this I'm not good enough and that's why I need to like freaking produce multiple videos, when I surrendered, and then after a while came this video. If we are doing the work, we are gradually opening up this resistance to life, to what is, to our circumstances, situations, and gradually that will also allow us to start to engage more with life, with people, and that can bring us new unforeseen opportunities that our mind could not previously thought as a possibility, because life is pure possibility when we have no resistance to it. And then all kinds of things we can create from pure possibility without limitations.